Brilliant. Still here at the 12th annual ACG New York hosted healthcare conference. The decibel level is rising. Why? Because the closing keynote has just finished. People are coming downstairs in this wonderful venue that is the Metropolitan Club to have bourbon. And what have I found in our tracks here is Don Ritucci, one of our healthcare committee members, and also who sits on the board of ACG New York. So wonderful to have you here, Don.
You're pretty good at this, so you must have been practicing.
No, I just do it off the cuff. Trying to be like you, because I heard you on your panel there, which was fantastic.
I
don't just say that.
I got it. It's not the moderator. It was all the panelists. So we had a great panel. Well, it was a good conversation.
I think you're being very humble, Don. You really are. Well, look, I've known you for a little bit now, but I've never really probed into you.
Now you're going to do it on
why
camera.
Not on camera? Why not? Yeah, a little bit more about you, Don, and your remit at Jefferies and what you do there. And let's take it from there.
Well, I'm really 6.5 feet tall, but no. So I lead up our middle market healthcare M&A effort at Jefferies. So Jefferies over the years has clearly gone up market in terms of the deal size, but the core of the middle market is something that the franchise was built around. And so probably 18 months or so, the powers that be at Jefferies had said, hey, we really need to do something about this. There's a lot of good quality companies in the middle market, lower middle market. We broadly define that as companies less than $400 million in deal size, and we need to target that. So, and so that's what I focus on from a healthcare perspective. I sit in the healthcare group, but I have an M&A seat, and my job is to find these good quality middle market companies that we can bank, establish relationships with, and hopefully sell them when they're on the smaller size, and then round trip them and sell them again when they're $500 million companies, and round trip them again when they're larger companies. So grow up with those companies.
Give us your top down of the healthcare industry at large right now, Don. We know that in PE there's three sectors, certainly last year, that have performed very, very well. That was technology, business, consumer, and healthcare. But from what we've heard here today, and the preface is healthcare, give us your 50,000 foot view of what's going on in the space and what's good, bad, and ugly.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you said that about technology, consumer, and healthcare, because those are actually all intertwined. Yeah. If you look at on the consumer, what we call retail healthcare space, so that's things like dermatology practice, dental practices, vet, are all areas that we actually have a great franchise in. But those are hot markets, and they've been pretty hot markets for years. But we're seeing new entrants into that. So people kind of know the dental service organizations that are out there, the large ones, the Aspen Dentals, or the Hartman Dentals. Those are big companies that have been around. But a new sector that we're seeing is actually fertility. And so we're selling one of the largest fertility practice management companies. And there are a lot of great tailwinds into that industry. Women aging in the workforce or delaying pregnancies. A lot of positive reimbursement trends that we're seeing there. Improved technology, but that's also a consumerism play as well. So we're seeing kind of a new entrance into that space. And I kind of mentioned on the technology side. So it is very much intertwined.
Yeah.
That's a big area that we see.
And I mean, a lot of the themes that you mentioned there have been spoken about at this event. And you've been at the helm of this event because you sit on the committee that advised how this event should flow. Talk to us about the event, how you found it. Has it been good for you thus far? Your reasoning for being here with your Jefferies hat on, of course.
Well, look, I'm a greedy investment banker at its core, and so I'm always looking for my next deal.
Brilliant.
Established relationships. Who's not?
Yep.
And so, but no, obviously there's a big networking component. We've got 400, 500 people here, and you've got we actually on the panel we talked about how many bankers are in the room, how many lenders in the room, and so there's a good
mix,
good cross section within that.
Yep.
And so this is just another networking event, and it's actually pretty amazing because it was a big healthcare conference last week in Chicago. We have this event, obviously the JP Morgan conference is a month, and then there's another one in a couple of weeks. And so I think it speaks to the investors and the community's focus on, the investment community's focus on healthcare. It's just such a big part of it.
Yeah.
When it's 17% of the GNP, you're going to see that.
And I'm glad you use nice trinket choice words for ACG. I mean, we're here to expand the network, grow it, and bring in the ilk of people just like yourself that you can network with. So tell us about, you're on the board of directors. What's to come in the new year? I know you and I are working hand in hand in that, but you sit on the finance committee as well.
Yeah.
So what's coming up?
Yeah, so this is my second 3-year stint. So I'm in year now, I guess I'm in my 4th year of being on the board.
Do you enjoy it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was, and so I got roped in from the prior president, David Hellier,
yep.
and he asked me to join the board, and then I was the treasurer of the board. And we made a lot of changes just in looking at the financials of the board, financials of the organization, as you know, kind of doing a deep dive. Why do we look at things this way, both from a revenue and from a cost perspective? So we've made, I think, some improvements.
Strides.
I still think there's a long way to go.
Yep.
Hector, our new treasurer, is doing a great job there. And so I think we're going to see continued improvement both on the top line and on the cost structure, looking at really holistically at the events, how many events that we do. That's one of our favorite subjects that we talk about at the board meeting. And what's the value that those, it's a balancing act because there's a big community that we're trying to serve.
Yep.
And what's the balance there?
Absolutely.
So I think that to me was one area that we've talked about.
Well, your service, Don, and how you're helping me, I don't just say that because you're in front of me, is invaluable.
You're just saying that
no, not at all. Invaluable. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your job on the panel. It was fantastic. Bourbon is being served, so I know you want to go and get some, don't you? I certainly do. Cheers.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you.